Second or two after 7, I'll open the meeting, please. Call the meeting to order at 7 p.m. Roll call.
Bill Burkhalter.
Kathy Stallworth.
Wesley Summers.
Kevin Skaggs. Jim Newman.
Thank you. Each of you have a copy of the minutes of February the 4th.
Yes, sir.
Hope you've had a chance to look at them. Call for a motion to approve.
Make a motion to approve. Second.
Any discussion?
No,
All in
sir.
favor, aye.
Aye.
Approved. Can I have a motion for confirmation of tonight's agenda?
I move that we approve the agenda.
Second. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
I'll get my glasses out where I can read it. There it is. The regular meeting of June the 3rd, 2021. We have three requests tonight. Libby, do we need to read this first one, or should we just table it? How do you want to handle it?
Tabling.
Long story short is the person that requested it is not ready for the meeting, and they've asked to delay it till July the 3rd.
Yeah, if it's at your pleasure as the chairman, we can just delay it until next month.
Okay.
There's nothing, we're not going to do the hearing or anything because they're not here to participate.
Well, then do we need to table it or just
No,
delay?
I think you just
we're
note
just
that it's on the agenda and that it will show up again next. And we will
okay.
re-advertise and do all the stuff we're supposed to do.
Item 5, number ZV 21-002, we will not handle tonight. It'll be delayed till July the 3rd at the request of the requestee. So we'll move on to item 6, which is ZV 21-003, a request by JSMG Development for an impervious surface ratio that exceeds the maximum permitted in the R7 small lot single-family residential zoning district by North Augusta Development Code Article 3 zoning districts Table 3.3 dimension standards. The request affects a proposed townhome development on plus or minus 5.63 acres located on Bradleyville Road, tax parcel number 012-13-04-013. First, we'll hold a public hearing, and then we'll have a consideration. That being said, I'll open the public hearing. Libby, would you like to brief us on this, please?
Certainly. This is, as you stated, the Stratton Place Townhomes, formerly known as Bradleyville Townhomes. This is in conjunction with a preliminary plat that's under review currently in our department. It is also related to a variance you guys have seen and approved previously to make smaller frontage requirements
Right.
for the lots. Because in R7, as we've discussed several times, in R7, townhomes are allowed. However, the typical townhome width is not accounted for in our current code. If you have any particular questions about it, I'd be happy to answer those. I believe Philip Green is here with Southern Partners to speak on behalf of the owner.
Anybody have any questions of Ms. Hodges before we?
Is this the same original developer?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Ms. Green, would you like to say something, please? Yes, please. State your name and address.
Yes, sir. Philip Green, 1233 Augusta West Parkway.
Raise your right hand, please. You swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I did.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and Board. I'd like to apologize for coming back to you so soon with another variance. When we first looked at the townhome development within the R7, looking at the development matrix, first thing that I noticed was the minimum lot width was 40 feet, which I realized that a 26-foot lot we had to get a variance for. Completely overlooked the impervious ratio in that matrix, for the, amount of impervious area per lot. Obviously with a 26 by 100 foot lot, putting a townhome on there is going to exceed that 0.4. Overall, the property itself, the impervious ratio is right around 0.4. So I feel like in spirit, we're maybe meeting the ordinance, but within that matrix, planning pointed out to us during the preliminary plat review that we would also need to get a variance for this impervious ratio. Again, the reasoning is much the same as it was for the lot widths. Within the R7 zoning, townhomes are allowed. However, the typical townhome is not built on a 40-foot wide lot with a big backyards. These are 26-foot wide with patios in the back and a little bit of grass, and the rest is common area within the development. So I'm here seeking a variance on behalf of the developers. It is the same developer that was here, and again, I apologize for coming back to you guys twice. I'm sure, like you, I would have rather had all the variances done at one meeting. But I'm at your mercy for that. I'd be glad to answer any questions that you guys might have.
Before you do that, Libby, will you go back to the slide, please? This is what we basically approved the first time. Now go to the second one. When the developer came in with the plan, he and Libby sat down and talked about this, and they came up with this plan. I got involved and agreed that this was a much better design than what it was the first time around. So Libby did not do anything on her own to approve a different plan from what we had originally approved. I just wanted to get that on the record so everybody knows it.
Yes, sir. And when we actually got into the original variance was applied for before we got into actual design. Once we started designing, looking at the grades on the property, bringing the road in where it was originally proposed, and having those two little cul-de-sacs, it didn't make sense. Speaking off the top of my head, it's been so long since I looked at that original one, but I want to say we might have even lost a couple of units going to this layout. But I agree. If I do say so myself, it's a better layout, and it works better for the property. So it has changed a little bit, but substantially is the same, request, 26-foot wide townhomes.
The lot size stayed the same pretty much.
Yes, sir.
Yes. Actually, I think he lost 4 lots. I think we approved 36, and it's down to 32, if I remember right.
What was the condition when we approved it? I think it was in write-up, I can't remember. That the configuration or lot, maybe each lot by itself would stay the same or something?
Yeah, the development will be similar to the sketch provided during the meeting with minor alterations at the discretion of the director.
The whole development? Oh, okay.
Mr. Green, I had one question about your variance, and I think I already know the answer, but since there's a difference in the ratio, there's possibly more runoff from the townhome area, but I'm assuming that the detention pond is more than adequate to cover all of the runoff that you're anticipating that would be concentrated in any way. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. That's correct. And again, since there is so much unusable property due to the topography on this piece of land, our overall impervious area is right around the 0.4.
Right. But just so I know for future reference, I know the ratio is 0.4. That's what's supposed to be. Is that correct? What is that ratio? Just sort of define it for me so I'll know. It's a number of square feet per of the impervious ground as compared to the total square feet, or what?
Yes, sir. So the way it's written in the matrix, it's defined on a per lot basis. So if you had a 10,000 square foot lot, the 0.4, 40%, you would only be allowed to have 4,000 square feet of impervious area. That accounts for the driveway, the rooftop, sidewalks, any patios in the back.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Any other questions of Mr. Green? Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Anybody else want to speak on behalf of, or against this project in the audience? Anybody have any more questions for Lily? Okay. Hearing none, I will declare the public hearing closed, and we will consider this application. I need to let everybody know and read this so that you know what we have to do on each one of these when we consider it. There are 10 items that we have to find, and we have to find each one of them in the affirmative, or the variance does not get approved. So I'll read each one, and the way we usually handle them is I'll read each one, and then we'll go back and handle each one at a time. And we'll continue on handling them until such time as we happen to reach one that's a negative or a no, and at that time we'll stop, and we'll just make a motion one way or the other. The variance may be granted in an individual case of unnecessary hardship if the Board of Zoning Appeals makes and explains in writing all of the following. An unnecessary hardship exists. Number 2, there are extraordinary and exceptional conditions pertaining to the particular piece of property. Number 3, that these conditions do not generally apply to other property in the vicinity. Number 4 is because of these conditions, the application of this chapter to the particular piece of property would effectively prohibit or unreasonably restrict the utilization of the property. And number 5, the authorization of a variance will not be of substantial detriment to adjacent property or to the public good, and the character of the district will not be harmed by the granting of the variance. Harm to the character of the district may include structures that are significantly out of scale and the creation or potential for the creation of excessive noise, light, traffic, or incompatible late-night activity. Number 6 does not apply because it pertains to signs. Number 7 is the Board of Zoning Appeals may not grant a variance in effect which would be to allow the establishment of a use not otherwise permitted in a zoning district. B, to extend physically a non-conforming use of the land. C, to change zoning district boundaries shown on the official zoning map. Number 8 is if the unnecessary hardship is self-imposed by the applicant, the variance should not be granted. Number 9 is the fact that the property may be utilized more profitable should a variance be granted shall not be considered grounds for a variance. And item 10 is in granting a variance, the Board of Zoning Appeals may attach to it such conditions regarding the location, character, or other features of the proposed building, structure, or use as the board may consider advisable to promote the public health, safety, and general welfare. Again, based on these findings of fact, the Board of Appeals may approve with conditions, or deny the request. So that's the way the procedure will go. So now we will have consideration of ZV 21-003. Item 1 is an unnecessary hardship exists. I'm sort of leaning towards the fact that maybe we created the unnecessary hardship by granting the first variance.
I think we'd be good with that one.
Ain't we good with that one? Okay. Anybody have any objections to saying yes to that one? There are extraordinary and exceptional conditions pertaining to the particular piece of property.
Well, same thing. Because we allowed the, size to vary, then, it limits the overall, it's limiting the overall lot size.
In theory, we actually, they're losing, more. So if they built it like we were, they probably would have been less than what they are now, correct?
In an overall, yes.
Yes.
Whether we agree on that one?
I'm good.
Third one, the condition does not generally apply to other property in the vicinity. The applicant states that other properties in the area have been developed with townhomes of lots 26 foot wide and flatter topography, and that these do not meet the .4 ratio. And staff notes that there are existing townhome developments within the city limits that have narrow lots widths, but acknowledge that each zoning district has its own requirements, with several zoning districts having no minimums.
I have a question about that, Libby. So, in some of these developments, you don't have to have that 0.4 ratio?
It depends on the zoning of where some of these developments have been put, as well as when they were put there. We have some much older developments that are basically 100% paved. So the good government answer is always that depends. So some of it depends on, where it is, if it's in a GC versus a residential zoning. Usually our residential zonings have a lower ratio that you have to meet.
Okay.
Thank you. Any other questions about 3? Are we good with that one?
The applicant states that other properties in the area, are they in the same zoning district?
I haven't seen any in this zoning district for this impervious ratio. I do know that there are, you can certainly think of a few examples right around here where they have built townhomes, and they obviously do not meet this 0.4 ratio.
But would that be because they're in different zoning districts, or their ancient history, so to speak?
Either or.
Okay.
Yeah.
Another good government answer, right?
Right.
So could you say that we've already had this discussion to allow the 26-foot minimum width?
I think we,
I think we have.
And because of that, we've created this
yes,
ratio problem.
I agree with that.
Okay.
I don't see any of these that are gonna change.
Yes. I'm good with 3.
Number 4, because of the conditions, the application of this chapter to the particular piece of property would effectively prohibit or unreasonably restrict the utilization of the property and.
True. I mean, somebody might argue the tail's wagging the dog, but still the tail's got to be happy, and so does the dog.
That's right.
So we agree on that one?
Well, I think, like you say, we've created a lot of this.
Yes.
We'll discuss that piece of it in a minute. Number 5, the authorization of a variance will not be of substantial detriment to adjacent property or the public good, and the character of the district will not be harmed by the granting of the variance. Harm to the character of the district may include structures that are significantly out of scale, and the creation or potential of the creation of excessive noise, light, traffic, or incompatible late night activity. Again, we created this monster.
Well, I think that something that he has said here, if you, the landscaping and other open space requirements and the general overall property is approximately at 0.4, and as he answered Bill's question, that the, retention pond would handle any runoff that develops from this, from a big storm and your solid surface areas.
And when you look at the aerial map, it's hard to see how it would hurt surrounding properties.
Yeah.
Right.
Is all the property surrounding it, like on this one, to the big patch of woods, is that county or city? Do we know?
It appears to be city.
Okay, thank you. Are we good with 5
Yes.
in this case? 6, again, is not applicable as pertains to signs. Number 7, the zoning board of appeals may not grant a variance in effect, which would be to allow the establishment of use not otherwise permitted. We're not doing that. B, to extend physically a non-conforming use of land. We haven't done that. And C, to change zoning district boundaries. We're not doing that, so that's good. Number 8, if the unnecessary hardship is self-imposed by the applicant, the variance should not be granted.
Well, it's
I
the
don't believe he
staff,
voted- I don't believe he
it's,
voted on that. I think we voted on that.
well, it's the development code. So I think we can say a yes on that one.
Number 9 is the fact that the property may be utilized more profitable. Should a variance be granted, shall not be considered grounds for variance.
Well, I think we can look at that one in this case, that he's losing 4 units by a new configuration of the development.
Right, which is a better configuration than what we originally approved.
Right.
Everybody okay with that one?
Good.
Granted variance, the Board of Zoning Appeals may attach such conditions regarding the location, character, or other features of the proposed building structure or use as the board may consider advisable to promote the public health, safety, or general welfare. I don't know of anything we wanted to add to that. We didn't. The preliminary plat has been reviewed and approved by the Planning Commission and is in compliance with any of the staff comments and any of the requirements we had on the last variance.
Those would remain.
Okay, y'all, but y'all have all reviewed all of this.
Oh, yes,
Okay.
this is pretty much it.
Okay.
Now, one last question I have. Is there any other variances that may be needed, or we think this is the last one for this piece of property?
I sure hope not.
So after this, the plat will be approved, everything will be approved, and he can start construction?
Correct.
Okay. Then if that's the case, I would ask for a motion.
Okay. I'll make it, based on the findings previously discussed and voted on, I move that application number ZV 21-003, Stratton Place Townhomes, a request by JSMG Development for a variance pursuant to sections, Article 3, zoning districts, Table 3-3, dimensional standards for the R7 small lot, single-family residential zoning district, item E, impervious surface ratio of the North Augusta Development Code to increase the maximum impervious ratio be granted. And no conditions.
Do I have a second? Do we have any other discussion?
No,
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None opposed. Pass unanimous. Thank you, sir. So, sorry we created this mess for you. We like you, but we hope you don't come back. Okay, next we have is request, it's ZB 21-004, a request by Cornerstone Family Chiropractic for a sign located within the side setback required by the HC Highway Corridor Overlay District by North Augusta Development Code, Article 13. Signs, Table 13.2, non-residential sign area chart. The request affects an existing medical office on plus or minus 0.23 acres located at 505 West Martintown Road. Tax parcel number 006-17-05-004. I will open the public hearing for the purpose of hearing to receive public comment for the application. Public hearing is now open. Ms. Hodge, would you like to brief us on this one, please?
Certainly, this is a sign variance for a sign within a setback, a side setback. I'm not sure that I have a whole lot of information to add, other than what's in the staff report. I believe there are some representatives here from the applicant. If you have any particular questions, I'd be more than happy to answer those.
So what was the approval that was mentioned in the package, the prior approval?
So we did hold a conditional use hearing for this property for the medical office in this particular zoning. That's required by the development code. But there has been no approval for
Of
any
the
sign
sign
permit.
itself.
Right, correct.
What are the sign requirements? I know that she put it on the lamp post, or they put it on the lamp post. Can it be mounted to the side of the building? Or the front of
It
the
could
building?
be. They're currently allowed in the Highway Corridor Overlay District. Maximum square footage for the entire building would be 300 square feet, or 10% of the ground floor area, or 6 square feet per linear foot of street frontage. Wall signs would be 300 square foot maximum, or 10% of the wall, whichever is less. And each parcel is allowed a freestanding sign at 100 square feet, or 0.5 per linear feet of frontage. Maximum height's 25 feet. Minimum setbacks are 5 feet from the front, or 10 feet from the sides.
So they could technically take the sign that was on the lamp post and just mount it to the side of the building?
Yes.
Well, I have a question, Libby. What about, roof signs? When did that become not acceptable?
I think our definition was a little bit squirrely before we did the 2019 sign reg changes, when we updated all of that information to be in line with the Supreme Court rulings regarding signs. So there may be a few out there that have either predated that or may even predate this entire code.
That whole center.
It's been there for
Yeah.
40 years, so.
I mean, I think that is odd. That,
My question is, that doesn't look like to me that's roof across the front of that.
In theory, it's not. It's an awning.
right.
Look at,
That's a
if
flat
you,
roof.
if you'll look at the picture, and it's a, I think it's the one that's just an aerial shot. If you look at the picture, yeah, I think, is that it? No, that's not
This one right here.
no, it's this. Keep going. Yeah, that was the old sign, right?
Mhm.
Okay, if you look at the aerial shot of that building, we have a picture of that.
Right here. Is this one?
Yeah, it's that one. It's truly not part of the roof. It's this one. Keep going. Go further.
About fourth from the last, if you're looking back in front.
Well, that one shows it too. That one
Yeah,
right there
that was
shows it.
okay right there.
That's it. You can see the roof is a different color from what that awning is. What's the
So,
does the code allow an awning sign?
I would have to see if it's allowed anywhere other than downtown.
I think you have to look at the architecture. These are, not my favorite architecture. However, it is iconic.
It's sort of like a mansard design too.
Right. And all of them look that way, but, you know, slight variations. So I don't see why we, I mean, maybe this is not the time to say this, but I don't see why we're carrying on about this when they'd be the odd man out. Every other building there
No.
has it on the
I
roof.
know, but
I mean, on the front.
If I read it right, if the definition if it's truly a definition and it's truly a roof, not allowed anywhere in North Augusta.
Well, we have our
Jackson
builder here.
Square, I
we
mean, but
can't-
Jackson Square's got it.
But we
Right.
can't, well, that was done before the 2019.
But we have a builder here who says that is an awning.
Well, I'm
I'm
not
just-
disagreeing with that. I'm not disagreeing with that, but all I'm saying is.
Trying to help
if-
you out.
Are signs allowed on an awning? Is this what she's
So
looking for?
roof sign, and I've got the pictures here, I'm happy to show them to you, where this is defined as a roof sign currently within our code. And that is what staff found. They are welcome to appeal that to you guys if you want to make a different finding. We would have to go through this whole process and all of this stuff again. So, that being said,
But if that's truly defined as a roof, it's prohibited in North Augusta anywhere, so we couldn't grant a variance on, so we'd have to get a definition of whether that's an awning or part of the roof.
correct.
But it wouldn't do them any good to come back to us, because they couldn't come back to us because it's not allowed in the city, a roof sign, except at our SRP Park and several other places
Thank you.
around, but that's okay.
But I don't see how that's part of a roof.
Well, I tell you what, while Libby's looking, let's see if somebody from the project would like to come down and speak to us. State your name and address, please.
Maria Stone, working at Cornerstone Family Chiropractic, 505A West Martin Town Road, North Augusta.
You swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you.
Alrighty, so this is very new to us, if I'm completely honest, and there has been some issues on our end as far as communication, both between the city of North Augusta as well as our sign company. From the beginning, we were told from our sign company that they had handled all the specs and some of the regulations and rules that kind of went along with putting up our sign, and then a couple months later, after having our sign up, there was some issues that arose. One of the biggest issues that we are concerned with, as far as what Mr. Newman requested about putting that sign off to the building, is that that existing lamppost is embedded within concrete and would be difficult to move, and would essentially be pretty much right next to it, but from the opposite end, if that makes sense. And there's a pretty big gap in between our establishment and Hall Family Dentistry, whereas on the other side, if we chose to use it on that side, it's a pretty small gap. So the sign, I don't think, would be extremely visible from the road if we were to go that route. And then we spoke to Cooley Baker, I believe.
Cullen.
Cully Baker, okay. About putting the sign on the maybe roof, and same kind of conversation we just had. We're not entirely sure that it is a roof, and if it is, we're not allowed to do it. So a lot of the options, just because of where we're at, aren't extremely viable to us, and so that lamppost makes the most sense to us. And Mr. Hall, or Dr. Hall next door, graciously allows us to use it if it's accepted through the city, since it is, I think, technically on his property. So I know it's a lot to go through, and we just really greatly appreciate your time and consideration for this.
So the lamp post is on his property.
I believe that's the issue we're running through. It's not necessarily the sign, it's the location of the lamppost.
But you're not sure exactly where that line is drawn, is that right?
Yes, sir. The plats that we had are dated from the 70s. That was all our landlord was able to pull. We went to Aiken County to their department, and there was the same plat. We even went out with a tape measure, which is why there's a drawn site plat out there, but it does seem to be right there on that line.
So this is a question for Libby. So if what they have, if they hang it from the lamp post, it is not acceptable, but if they mount it to the wall, hang it from, hang it just a different, but that would be okay. Is it because it's called a different kind of, it meets a different definition? Is that way?
So the wall sign would have to be flush with the wall.
Oh.
Yeah,
Or like-
otherwise,
It's
otherwise
not visible
it's,
from the road, it'd be visible from next door.
Yeah.
Why does it have to be mounted flat?
because otherwise it's a projecting sign, and that's a different kind of sign.
I don't think that would do them much good to
No, it
have it on the
wouldn't.
wall.
Okay, all right.
You're coming out of the
We're-
dentist or
we're
Bush's
Yeah,
florist.
we're,
Bear with us. We're just grabbing these.
we're dragging you, we're
Yeah.
going through the mud with you here.
Yeah.
Would you be reasonably happy if you could put it on the post just like it is right now? Like you had, I think you may have had it there.
Yes, sir.
And you think that's gonna be visible to the street?
We've had a lot of patients tell us that we need a bigger sign, but this is the one that we could afford starting out as a new business. Because we were gonna go the roof route at first, because everyone else in our plaza has one. But turns out we can't do that either way, it seems. So, eventually we would like to get something bigger, but it is visible from the road to a certain extent.
So a freestanding sign at this location would typically be one that would advertise all the businesses in that little complex, is that right?
There's
Not
actually-
just one, because you're only allowed one, is that right? Did I read that right?
They are allowed one per parcel, so
Oh, okay, so you could have
as,
five
yeah.
or so.
There is one
potentially, yes, there are several ground signs along this strip.
Okay, I
Down,
read it
down
wrong
in
then.
this far corner down here, there's one that's got both, Dr. Thurman and,
Edward
Edward Jones
Jones.
on it.
Right.
And then up on this other end is
Bush's.
a small dentist one, and then Bush's Florist has got one, so there's
There's several.
four signs on that property now.
Correct.
Also, the occupants underneath, Dr. Hall are trying to get a sign on that same.
So could they go
Area.
to Dr. Hall, stick one sign out on the post out of the thing, have two signs like that hanging out?
As long as they meet the square footage, yes.
On the
So-
lamp post, is that what you're saying?
No, freestanding sign.
Oh, a
out by the
freestanding
As a
house.
freestanding
okay.
Like
sign.
those
Yeah.
three signs that are there now.
Right.
If, say, you say Dr. Hall, is that his name?
Yes, sir.
He's the dentist?
Yes, sir. He took over for Dr. Wah.
Oh, okay.
And he's the dentist.
Yes.
The dentist office that's got the big dentist sign on it. Well, he's got a small sign out there now, but it's covered up by trees almost.
Yeah.
So he wants to put another one. Well, would that be an option to you guys?
It is an option. I don't know how much it separates us, mostly because of, like you said, there's a lot of shrubbery right there, a lot of trees. I know a lot of people already can't see his sign, because he's come to us asking who did our sign, because he wanted to get one on his roof, but then came back later and said he's having the same issue with, doing the roofing sign.
So if you guys could come to agreement that it would go down by the road legally, one sign with both of you on it down somewhere where it benefits both, would that be an option? Not that we can dictate what you do, but
Right.
other than say yes or no.
You're
about the one
probably
you say.
trying to get something right now that advertises your business that's not gonna cost you so much.
Correct. And I think what we really enjoy is that lamp post, it being right next to the building. It aesthetically looks beautiful when we have the sign up. Other than that, it's just an empty lamp post with a bar hanging off of it. And it really signifies our building, separates us from everyone else. People aren't driving in trying to look where ours is, because other than that, we don't really have a sign on our building at all.
Is that the sign that's in the window? Is that the same sign?
It's the same sign, isn't it?
It is the sign you wanna hang up? Okay.
Yes, because we had some new
Yeah.
patients struggling to find us.
Maybe this might help some clarification, let them know where we're coming from. If we take this and we turn them down for this, they'll basically be without a sign at that lamp post, and you would just have to conform to what they have. So with us asking a lot of these questions, we're trying not, because once we reject y'all, I mean, y'all basically got a year before you can come back, am I right, Libby? So we're trying to come up with some solutions, so just kind of bear with us
Yeah,
with all the
absolutely.
questions and giving you options.
Right.
Because if we turn you down, I mean, you stuck with whatever Libby says.
Again, it goes back to the 10 things we have to find yes for, and that's, can be sticky sometimes.
So, all right, so if that lamp post was magically not within that side setback, would it be okay to hang from the lamp post there?
Generally, yes, we would consider that a freestanding sign.
Okay, so is the lamp post in a bad place? I mean, is it,
If it is within 10 feet of their property line, then it is within a setback and we can't allow that.
so can you say that lamp post is grandfathered in that location?
But the sign is not.
In actuality, because of the narrowness of this lot, I hardly see how they could put the lamp post anywhere unless it's just right in front of their door, and that would look, ridiculous. So it seems to be a practical question right now of the options. We talk about options, but what options do they really have? They can't put it on as far as we know, on the awning. I suppose it was too expensive to put it out by the street. Now I thought all the signs just off the right of way were not permitted, but then I saw the two down at the bottom with Edward Jones and Dr. Thurman, I think, and decided, well, maybe those are grandfathered, and of course Jim Bush's sign's been there a long time. But you're saying, I was going to say that there has been a sign either out by the road for that building or the one right next to it, because Oswald and Stubb, Bobby Oswald used to practice with Franklin Stubb, and they had CPA in one of those two buildings, and they had a sign out on the street. I mean, not on the street, but on the edge of the parking lot. So, as I understand, Ms. Stone, right now, I guess a post sign is prohibitively expensive. Is that the problem right now? I mean, if you had to put one out by the street.
So expenses would be a big factor towards it, but not one that we couldn't overcome if that's what it came down to. I think the biggest thing is that aside from having something on the road like that, there's no other place to put a sign on our building to still signify that it's our
This is who we are.
establishment.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Because
Yeah.
every other place on their building somewhere, there's dentist or Edward Jones, and ours is just kind of a blank canvas.
Right.
Who owns the lot? Is that a separate lot in between, or is that part of the dentist's property?
I believe it's part of the dentist property, Dr. Hall just purchased that a couple of months ago.
So that's technically a separate lot then. So why can't he put a sign, just, I hate to say, like a sign right there in the middle, with your name pointing one way and his name pointing the other?
He actually did come to us a couple of months ago asking if he could use the other sign of our lamppost because he thought it was on our property. So I told him sure, but I didn't really know any rules because it's not my territory.
Can that happen since is that an option?
For a freestanding sign, is that what you
Yeah.
mean? Yes, I think we've established that is possible.
Yeah, so I mean,
Each lot would be entitled to their own freestanding sign.
So if you could get with Dr. Hall, put your sign right there, your name pointing to your building, and your name putting on that, and a couple stickers on the door.
Let me ask a question. Libby, if we table this to July, they don't have to pay any other fees or anything, do they, to
No.
come back? Okay. You just mentioned Oswald and whatever. There's a picture of it in this,
Is it?
one of our,
Yeah, right here,
Shows it.
see,
it turns out, go back to that.
remember that one?
Go back to
The
that
sign
one
right
we
there?
had up there last.
Yeah, I'd forgotten about that.
You can see it
yeah.
right
Yeah.
there.
Uh-huh.
That was the sign. It was in that parking lot. In fact, it's about 3 spaces in.
Which picture is that? Oh, I see it over here, the single by itself.
Yeah. And you can see the lamppost. You can, there by
Right.
their building. There was no dentist office there.
Actually, Gary Wall was there. I don't know what kind of signage he had, but,
It probably would not be as large now, but a ground sign would be allowed.
Ms. Stone, we will be happy to finish this hearing and be happy to go through this process, but I would also offer you the opportunity to ask us to table it until July and give you the opportunity to talk to some of your other neighbors there and then see if any of them would like to go in with you to put a different kind of sign up.
Okay, yes, sir.
I think that's a good option for you. I mean, I'm not trying to tell you we would or would not approve this, because I can't tell sort of see a little bit of handwriting on the wall,
Okay,
and it's not a sign.
okay.
So I'd like to give you that option as long as she doesn't have to pay any other fees other than just, we'll table it until the July the 3rd meeting.
Okay.
And,
Or does that give you enough time?
does that give you enough time? Would you like 2 months? But I know you want to open your business, and I'm not trying to stop that.
No, we've actually been open since late July, early August. We've been, to be honest, thriving, up until now, especially considering the circumstances. We just, when new patients come in, we want them to have the ability to know exactly where we're at. And I would like to just make one last point, in reference to Mr. Newman. We do have a letter enclosed signed by Dr. Corey Hall, who he graciously wrote on our behalf, stating that he was okay with the usage of that sign, if that was a viable route to take. So I'll discuss it with some of our neighbors, see if there's anything there that they would be willing to discuss, and table it for the next meeting.
July or August?
Is July, is
I
that
think
early enough?
July should be
July would be early, okay.
Could I ask a question before we?
Yes, go ahead.
I'm still stuck on this thing, though. But you mentioned the letter, excuse me. So I guess the setback, not being within 10 feet is so, the purpose of that is so that it doesn't get too close to your neighbor's property and all that kind of stuff. Is that the purpose behind that?
I think that's generally the purpose.
So if that's the problem and you've already got permission from that particular owner, isn't it reasonable? Just allow it as long as that neighboring property owner approves of it? Now, if he moves and somebody else comes in, all bets are off. You gotta get another letter. But anyway, I'm just looking at something reasonable.
Just to be absolutely clear, staff is not able to make that determination. This is purely up to the Board of Zoning Appeals. Our job is to take it in, see whether or not it meets the rules, and then if it doesn't, we send you to the correct
Right.
people to make that decision.
Okay, can we talk us into that then?
Well, I want a ruling on whether that's a roof or not.
Oh, wow, we don't have enough time. To me, it is not a roof, and from what we,
Here it
because
comes.
but according to the city code, it is.
Yeah, I was looking at awning and some of this other stuff to see if I could kind of, why we were thinking that. And then here's roof sign right here.
I'll read it after we, so everybody knows.
I can assure you that staff doesn't go into these lightly.
No,
And
we
we
I
take
know.
a lot of time.
We're not.
But
We
you know,
are-
when I was up there and just looking at it, I thought, well, that is, I mean, I didn't see how it was a roof. I mean, it protects the people underneath it
Yes,
from getting
and-
wet, but I didn't see how it was protecting the shop. Right,
Below the roof.
right.
Right. But we don't have the same thing for canopy or awning. It's not clear enough, so staff can't just make determinations.
Right.
We can't just pull this stuff out of a hat. We try
Right.
to be as upfront as possible. You guys can make whatever decisions you want to make, but we cannot.
Yeah. Let me read that to you.
But you'd have to go back to the canopy definition to see if it falls in there.
Okay, it says roof signs.
This is probably a discussion we should have had before this meeting.
We're just as confused, if it helps.
Well, like I said, staff doesn't do this to be a pain in anybody's butt.
You have a lot on your plate. There's
No,
a
no.
lot.
Well, we just,
No,
we
no-
can't
nobody-
make interpretations
Nobody
too
Right,
far.
thinks that.
Right.
Okay,
Well-
let me interject something else. What happens if we just say, we're gonna give them the right to put that sign on the canopy or roof or whatever it is.
To be in character with the rest of it.
It would, I mean, it would
Character
be.
with the rest of it. What happens then?
We call it a
Can we call it a
canopy.
canopy? let me read this, but just think about that a second, if we just arbitrarily do that. I don't know that we can, I'm just
I
saying.
think it would be it's a different question than what we have advertised this hearing to be.
So then it would have to be advertised again.
That would be my knee jerk, is that is not the content of what we have advertised publicly.
That's a roof sign means any sign erected upon, against, or directly above a roof or roof eaves, or on top or above parapet, or on a functional architectural appendage above the roof. Second time it said above the roof. For the purpose of this article, a roof shall be considered to be any building surface where the slope of the surface is less than 1 1/2 to 1 ratio relative to horizon. The rise is 1 1/2 times the run. This does not include signs legally allowed on a marquee or a canopy. Now, you said something about a canopy.
Yeah, go
Let's see
back
what
to
this
canopy.
is.
Well, maybe we should ask this question. Ms. Stone, if you could put it on the awning, would you want to do that? I mean, if you don't want to do that, this is moot.
That was the direction we were heading at first. It just wasn't feasible at the time. I love the idea of something being on that lamppost because it's just kind of bare without it. But that was my second option if we can't get the lamppost idea approved, just because it's on our building, it signifies who we are, rather than something from afar and then having to kind of figure out which one's not nice.
When I looked at that shopping center, or that office area, everybody's name is on the roof, on the front of the building, or the canopy, or whatever, except yours.
Right.
So, like I said, it's not my favorite type of architecture up there, but it is iconic. It is a 70s architecture.
Yes, and I was actually speaking with our sign company to go ahead and try to figure something out for that part of the building, because it's bare. We want it to look like the rest in that same plaza as well, and to kind of just make us stand out a little bit more. And then when I asked Miss Cully about it, that's whenever she said it wasn't an option, so we just kind of
Let it go.
at that
It's
point.
definitely not a canopy, so that.
Yeah, but if you,
So we go back to a marquee is a sign painted on, attached, or hung from the marquee. Marquee means a hood or awning of permanent construction without pillars or posts, which supported from the building wall and extends beyond the building or building line. Marquees sometimes extend over a property line.
So marquees are specifically for downtown. So those are,
so that would be technically a marquee then, because the roof line's up at the top.
That's, you
This
said that's
hangs,
strictly
this
for
hangs
downtown.
below the roof
and that
line.
would be for downtown.
And that's changing the zoning boundary.
And that would
Right,
be
it's-
allowing something that was not allowed in that zoning
Right.
district. This is why we get paid, to try to do this. And it's not that we disagree with what you're saying, it's just that our code doesn't say that, and we are not able to just make stuff
Right.
up.
Right.
How,
What-
I'd still say
A marquee sounds exactly like what this is.
It is.
I don't understand.
but it's not allowed.
It's not allowed in that zoning district. It's only
Right.
allowed downtown. Is that what you're saying?
Well, it's
Yeah,
a
marquees-
non-conforming use. You're not changing the marquee.
That's existing and grandfathered in.
But there's no sign on it now. Once it's gone, it's gone.
That is true.
But if we changed it for that whole district, whole shopping center, that, like I said, it's an icon. They've been there for 40 years.
Yeah, exactly.
And that would probably be more appropriate as a text amendment.
Right, right.
That's not something the
something
BZA
we-
necessarily
that's not
has the
something
power
we
to do.
We can do. But, it's when you do the development code that you don't see these things.
And it's hard to catch every
is,
single
it is
one.
hard.
I mean, we have a lot of pre-existing development. We're never gonna catch it all.
Right.
Our development code is written for the forward tense.
Right.
So going forward, is that what we want? So, that being said, this is what the BZA process is for. This is what the waiver process is for.
Right. Are you agreeable to table it to the 3rd and
Yes,
see
sir.
what you can work out?
Absolutely.
And then come back to us, and if we have to, we'll rule one way or the other.
Yes, and then, I just have one more question that my husband brought up. In that area where we were discussing discussing the possibility of putting, I believe, a freestanding sign maybe over in the front of the, or towards the road. Is that where you were discussing?
Yeah, anything, any sign standing on its own. Technically, the sign that on the lamppost is a freestanding sign.
Okay,
That cannot meet the setbacks.
okay,
And that's what the whole variance is about.
okay. So if we were to have a sign out by the road, are there, to my knowledge, it's not on our property. I'm not entirely sure whose property that's on.
You would have to establish where your property is and place it on your property.
Okay, so then,
The right-of-way is not your property.
So if you will look at the three signs that are there, they're almost in a straight line. I looked at them today. They're almost in a straight line, just about where the grass ends and the pavement starts.
okay,
That's just about where the property line is gonna be.
okay.
So you just need to look at that.
All right, Libby, while we're still talking about that, would that be easier to get a sign out there? Or put a freestanding sign actually on the empty lot with Hall and that arrows pointing, where you took the sign and split it right down the middle, and, what's gonna be easier to get?
Either, because each one is a freestanding sign. It just depends on which lot they want to put it on as to depending on
But I'm
the
talking
square.
about up there in between the two buildings.
That would technically, it appears that is on the neighboring lot. So if you look at the property lines that are shown here, it's on somebody's lot. It has to be on somebody's lot.
Right.
Okay.
But a freestanding sign right there would be all right.
Everybody, every parcel would gets their own freestanding sign.
Whether it's 10 feet off of Martintown Road or right next to their front door, within the boundaries.
Right, they just have to meet the setbacks.
Okay.
The setback from the front is 5 feet and from the side is 10 feet.
And if they can't meet the setback, all they need to do is request a variance, right?
They have to come back here, that's
Which
correct.
is what they're doing here.
Exactly.
What? What circle?
Yes, they come all the way there. That's why we're here.
If I could get Dr. Hall to reach out at all, would that be beneficial?
I mean, he's indicated his agreeableness to
Yeah.
do this. Staff just can't grant that.
Right.
So,
So we'll table it till next time.
I think your husband is dying to say something. For you like to come down? Come on,
You
come on
have to
down.
be,
Come on down. I have to swear you in too. State your name and address, please.
Dr. Greg Stone from Cornerstone Family Chiropractic.
You swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
Yes, sir, I do.
Yeah.
So I know Dr. Hall has expressed his interest to expand into that direction. So we wouldn't be able to put a sign in the middle of that area, because then we would just have to take it down later.
Well, you could go down closer to the road and do that. I mean,
Yeah, I was just like I said, we're just kind of, like I said, we're trying to throw some
Yeah, I
things
know,
on
I know.
the stick.
But he was just talking about
Yeah.
kind of expanding out that way, so we wouldn't be able to put one there pointing both
Right.
ways.
Okay, thank you, sir.
So Libby, the lot is 40 feet wide at the front. As I understand it, the setback is 15 feet from either side. So if they had a freestanding pole out toward Martintown Road, they got 10 feet to work in to place it
correct.
in the middle.
It's 10 feet.
Yeah.
The side setbacks are 10 feet, front setback is only 5.
Okay.
All right.
But the two of them could go together and put one sign, one post with two signs on it within
couldn't
that.
they, Libby?
Well, she just said one sign per parcel though.
Yeah, but you can hang a sign on both sides or top and bottom, because it's got to meet what? 30
300
square feet.
Can each one of them be 300 square feet?
No.
No, I didn't think so.
Each lot has a limit.
Yeah. But if they.
Well,
if
he's
they
got a
had-
big dentist sign on his.
Yeah.
I think they can do it individually.
Yeah, if they want to do it individually, or if they want to go in with him, they could.
I don't know.
Now, that's not the sign that Gary Wall had, is it?
He had the dentist, but he also had Dr. Waugh.
Right.
Dr. Hall had that removed, and I know he's trying to also rework his signage up there, but it's running to some of the same.
Yeah.
If he
Tell
wants
him-
it, he
tell
better
him
not
not
leave,
to.
he better leave it alone.
Tell them not to take it down like we did.
Hey, hey Libby, on a sign that's required out at the street, can it just be a 4x4 or 6x6 post and hang their existing sign off?
Yeah.
Yeah, you can hang your existing sign out
Out by the road.
there, as long as it's
You
on
have to,
your property.
you'll have to present it back to her,
Yeah,
right?
you gotta get
for
the permit
approval.
for it, but I
Yeah.
mean,
Right.
just a post
But
with
you
a-
take a 6x6 post out there, dig a hole, slap concrete after she approves it, hang your sign on it.
My only concern with that is that it still doesn't make we don't have anything on our building.
But won't you be able to get stickers, decals,
Yeah, they can
something
do
on the
window
glass?
signage and
Yeah,
You
stuff.
put signage on
You
the
can put
glass.
some signage on your
Yes,
glass.
and we were going to put like hours and things like that. It's just the way the front of our building is, there's two big bay windows with I'm not sure, the panels, I guess.
Yeah,
So, and we're getting blinds on the front two panels for the window, so they would just be still small. People would still have to come up and kind of look around to make sure that we are the chiropractors in the area.
Well, they would know that because you're not the dentist and you're not Edward
Right.
Jones. You would be the only one without a sign.
I completely understand that, and that's another reason why it's because it just doesn't make us as visible from the street.
Right,
We would like to stand out as well.
sure.
Well,
But,
if you're in agreement, we're gonna table it till
Yes, sir.
July the 3rd and give you the chance to work something out
absolutely.
with the planning director and her staff. And if not, then we'll see you back here on the 3rd and we'll handle it.
Good, thank you so much.
I'll need a motion and a vote for,
I'm gonna close
Tabling.
the public hearing first. Anybody else wanna say anything for or against this project?
Thank you.
Public hearing is closed. Can I have a consideration motion?
I'd like to make a motion, we table till July 3rd.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Do we have any discussion?
But we need to add, make sure that they work with the planning department. Maybe they can get something worked out, beforehand, and maybe this will go away altogether and we won't see them on the 3rd.
We're happy to have you in North Augusta, but we've gotta apply by the rules, and we're trying to help you do that.
And I'm all in favor.
All in favor, say aye. Any opposed? None. Okay. Maybe I don't want this big book you just brought to give me. I'll get it, I'll give it to you later, we don't need it.
That's right, that's right.
All right, that's all we have to consider tonight. Do we have some visitors? Anybody up, you two guys like to say anything?
Been entertained.
This is the cheapest entertainment you can have, isn't it?
My former student out there, when he was 10, he looks a lot different now. I have a few questions that I would like to be on the record, okay?
Okay, we would like for you to be on the
We have a,
Hold on, if we don't need, y'all are more than welcome to
Oh,
leave.
y'all can go.
Anybody can stay that wants to, but the official business is over.
yes.
But this may be of interest to you. You guys want to stay and get another laugh.
One of our requirements that we have to meet is that this, whatever the applicant wants to do can't be a detriment to the neighborhood by being out of scale with the neighborhood. Well, I want to know how those two things on a Crystal Lake got approved in that precious neighborhood with those Sears Roebuck homes, and then you have those giant things that look like Myrtle Beach.
so if they meet their setbacks,
But
We-
it's out of scale. I mean,
we
it's,
don't get to make those decisions as staff,
Is that residential?
Mhm.
Yeah.
as long as they meet their setbacks and don't need to come to you
Doesn't
guys or
somebody
don't need
say
to come.
that looks ugly? I mean,
We
it
don't
doesn't
regulate
fit.
ugly.
It doesn't fit.
Architectural committee for a non-subdivision.
Anything else?
Well, yes, and the assisted living, Camellia Walk or whatever it is, are they abiding by, well, I know it's probably too soon about the buffering and all, but remember, we were very concerned about that neighborhood back there.
We're gonna make sure that those go up. They will not get a CO until those are planted. But
Okay.
obviously, this time of year is not a real good time
But
to
no,
plant.
it's not,
so-
and I mean, they're not ready to do that, but it just concerned me, because that's a wonderful established neighborhood, and we promised those people that they would
Yep.
have.
It's on
adequate
there. We're
buffer.
aware.
And then we get these things about the, stormwater runoff, or the, whose basin, what watershed is in. What are we doing about Pretty Run Basin? Because we always say that it's not good. And in this one, it said due to, inadequate construction or something to that nature, or unattended construction. That concerns me.
So Stormwater is working very, very hard on that. Some of it is because of its location and pre-existing development. As you know, many years prior,
Right.
we didn't have any stormwater requirements. The state didn't. Well, we enforce the state requirements.
Right.
It's not just us of our own volition, although it is a very good thing to do. So going back and retrofitting is really, really hard and really, really expensive. I'm sure our stormwater manager would be happy to come and present to you guys. She recently came to our planning commission meeting and presented. She'd be happy to run you through everything that she's working on for all of that. But they work really, really hard to try to improve and prevent degradation of our waters in the city of North Augusta.
I think we'd like to have her sometime.
I do too. And then, a question about July 3rd meeting. Did we approve that it would be July 3rd, the day before the 4th? We did that, obviously. I'm having second thoughts about that now. What day is the 4th on anyway?
Must be on a Friday.
Be on Friday.
Yeah, Friday, I guess, well, obviously Friday.
So it's going to actually be on July 1st. It is the first Thursday in July. The first day and the first Thursday in July.
Oh, okay, so it's not the 3rd.
It's stated the third.
Yeah, the 3rd will be Saturday.
On the first.
So y'all don't want
Okay.
to come on that
No,
day.
we won't come.
Okay.
Well, on a personal and professional level, Libby, we are gonna miss you, and I wish you well in your new position,
Thank you.
and I wanna tell you, you have been a pleasure to work with.
You certainly have.
We do appreciate you putting up with all the comedy we have around. Do we get, on another note, do we get to see the traffic study that we said had to be done for Knollwood too,
Well, you will when it's ready.
when it's ready?
Yeah, so
But you know, I'm a little concerned about that because the COVID traffic study.
there's guidance.
Not
from-
necessarily.
I know, I've gotten this question a whole lot, and there is guidance out from SCDOT about how they prefer to see the increases shown and a certain percentage increase
Okay,
during that period of time.
but we're still in motion.
It's still in motion. We have seen an early version. We had several comments. We have sent that back. I didn't want to bring it to you guys until it's in a much more final form, because we want to make sure that they are addressing comments and that is done appropriately.
Done yet.
Yeah.
That's
So,
all we
and the
need.
preliminary plat, it hasn't even been to planning commission. I mean, it's not,
Anyway,
it's still under review. We're not anywhere near anything. I know there's a lot of,
Is there going to be an acting director?
I believe so, but that is no longer in my control. Not that it ever was, but that is outside my purview. Yeah,
well, it has really been a pleasure. We have enjoyed having you.
thank you,
You've done us a good job, and I appreciate it. Good
thank
job.
you. It's been very nice to work with all of you.
Projects, people, management.
No.
Anything anybody else got? Meeting adjourned.